Did you know that in the last few years, people have been making astonishing amounts of money by selling digital pictures of odd monkeys, pixelated cats, and all sorts of quirky characters online? It sounds almost unbelievable, but it's true. These aren't just any pictures, they're part of a digital revolution that's turning simple doodles into gold mines. In fact, some of these digital creations are selling for more than what many talented artists make from a traditional gallery show. Imagine spending years perfecting your craft, only to see a cartoon cat or a funky monkey sell for thousands, or sometimes even millions of dollars, all thanks to the magic of the internet. Welcome to the world of NFTs, non-fungible tokens. It's a place that feels a bit like the Wild West, but instead of cowboys and horses, you've got computers, blockchain technology, and a whole lot of digital art. Here, the rules are still being written, fortunes are made overnight, and anyone with a creative spark can stake their claim. I'll admit, when I first heard about NFTs, I was skeptical. Who in their right mind would pay real money, sometimes life-changing amounts, for a JPEG file you could just right-click and save? It seemed like nonsense, a passing internet fad that would disappear as quickly as it arrived. But the more I looked into it, the more I realized there was something fascinating happening here. The idea that a simple digital creation, something you could make on your laptop in an afternoon, could have real tangible value was too bizarre to ignore. It challenged everything I thought I knew about art, ownership, and creativity. And here's the real shocker. Anyone can join in. You don't need an art degree, a fancy studio, or connections in the art world. All you need is an idea, some basic software, and a bit of nerve to put your work out there. The barriers to entry have never been lower, and the possibilities have never been more open. It's a strange, chaotic democratization of art. Suddenly, the gatekeepers are gone. The internet has thrown open the doors, and people from all walks of life are flooding in, sharing their creations, building communities, and sometimes striking it rich in the process. Your neighbor, your niece, even your favorite talk show host could become a digital artist overnight. The lines between amateur and professional, hobbyist and entrepreneur are blurring faster than ever before. It's a world where creativity is the only real currency, and anyone can take a shot at success. That's what drew me in. I wanted to see if I could do it too. Could I create something from scratch, put it out into the digital marketplace, and maybe, just maybe, find out what all the hype was about? So I decided to dive in, learn the ropes, and see where this wild new world of digital doodles would take me. It started on a grey Tuesday, the kind of day where the sky seems to press down on you and the rain taps a monotonous rhythm on the window pane. I found myself staring out, feeling the weight of the mundane. I was bored, scrolling my phone, craving a project. My mind was restless, seeking something to break the monotony. Social media was a blur of the same old posts, and I needed something more, something to ignite a spark. The NFT idea popped up. Why not try making digital art and see what happens? It was a world I knew little about, but the concept intrigued me. The idea of creating something unique and putting it out there for the world to see was exhilarating. I wasn't after money, just the challenge of learning something new. The thrill of diving into uncharted territory was enough to get my heart racing. I wanted to push my boundaries and see where this path could lead. The jargon, minting, gas fees, blockchain sounded like a foreign language. Each term was a puzzle piece I needed to fit together. It was daunting, but I was determined to decode this new lexicon. But I made a pact. I'd create something, list it, and see it through. No matter how confusing or challenging it got, I was committed. This was my project, my leap into the unknown. My goal, just one sale, one person, anywhere, thinking my doodle was worth a few quid. It wasn't about the money, it was about validation, about knowing that my creation resonated with someone out there. I dove into research, YouTube tutorials, blog posts, guides. I absorbed every bit of information I could find, each piece of advice a stepping stone on my journey. The more I learned, the more confident I became. It felt overwhelming, but curiosity kept me going. There were moments of frustration, times when I wanted to give up, but the desire to see this through was stronger. I was driven by the possibility of what could be. I was ready to leap, even if I landed in a puddle. The journey was just beginning, and I was prepared to embrace every twist and turn. This was my grand leap into the unknown, and I was all in. When people picture a digital artist at work, they often imagine a futuristic studio filled with expensive gadgets, giant monitors, and shelves lined with the latest tech. Maybe you're picturing a room that looks more like a spaceship than a workspace, with blinking lights and high-end equipment everywhere. But the reality for me was much simpler. My entire toolkit consisted of just an iPad and the Procreate app. That's it. No fancy drawing tablets, no complicated software, and no intimidating learning curve, just a single device and a world of possibilities at my fingertips. When I first started, my digital art looked like something you'd find taped to a refrigerator, bright, messy, and a little bit wonky. It was humbling, honestly. I'd see these incredible digital paintings online and then look at my own work, which looked more like a child's doodle than a masterpiece, but that's where the fun began. I started experimenting with all the digital brushes, playing with colors I'd never dare to use on paper, and layering shapes and lines just to see what would happen. There was a lot of trial and error, sometimes more error than trial, but every mistake taught me something new. Discovering how to use layers was a total game changer. Suddenly I could experiment fearlessly, knowing I could always undo a mistake or adjust a single part of my drawing without ruining the whole thing. It was like having a safety net. And it made me so much braver in my art. I started out making simple, bold patterns. Nothing too complicated, just cheerful shapes and colors that made me smile. It wasn't about impressing anyone, it was about enjoying the process and seeing what I could create with just a few taps and swipes. The most important thing I learned was not to be intimidated by the technology. The software is just a tool, like a paintbrush or a pencil. The real magic comes from your ideas, your curiosity, and your willingness to play. My best advice? Don't overthink it. Just start doodling and see where it takes you. Don't set out to create a masterpiece right away. Let yourself make a mess, try new things, and laugh at your mistakes. Every swipe and scribble is a step toward getting better, and the more you play, the more your skills will grow. My setup was as basic as it gets, just a tablet, a stylus, and a comfy spot to sit. But that was all I needed to unlock a whole new world of creativity. You don't need a fancy studio to get started, you just need the courage to begin. And the best part, no paintbrushes to clean, no spilled water cups, and no mess. Just pure, joyful creation, whenever and wherever inspiration strikes. With a few doodles ready, it was time to pick a marketplace. I chose OpenSea, the biggest, most beginner-friendly platform. Setting up meant getting a digital wallet, MetaMask, and buying a bit of Ethereum for fees. Minting my first NFT was just uploading an image, adding a title, and clicking Create. I named it Geometric Optimism No. 1 and set a modest price. After paying the gas fee, my art was live, small and lonely on OpenSea's vast shelf. I felt proud, but also anticlimactic. I had no followers, no reputation, and no idea how to get noticed. The journey had only just begun. For a week, I checked my OpenSea page constantly. 0 views, 0 sales. My NFT was invisible, lost in a sea of digital art. I'd made the classic mistake. If you build it, they will come. They didn't. It was disheartening and I almost gave up. The hype makes it seem easy, but most people start with silence and frustration. My flop was a reality check. I realized selling NFTs isn't just about art, it's about building a presence. Marketing and community matter. My first failure was a lesson, not an ending. I needed a new approach. Random patterns weren't enough. I thought about what I love, the British weather. So I created British weather moods, abstract art inspired by classic forecasts. Each piece had a story: persistent drizzle, unexpected sunny spell, glorious bank holiday downpour. Suddenly my art had personality and humor. I wrote quirky descriptions and shared them on Twitter using #NFTart and #digitalart. I engaged with other artists, commented and joined conversations. Slowly people noticed. A few likes, a retweet. It wasn't a flood, but it was better than silence. Finding my niche made all the difference. 3 weeks after starting British Weather Moods, it happened. I saw a red notification. My piece, Unexpected Sunny Spell, had sold. I was stunned. Someone, somewhere, wanted my art. It wasn't about the money, it was the validation. All the confusion and frustration was worth it for that moment. I felt like a real digital artist. That first sale was the spark I needed. I shared the news with friends, who were both impressed and baffled. I started creating more weather moods: gale force annoyance, unseasonably mild April shower. That first cha-ching made it all real. After the first sale, I set a new goal, $1,000. I created and minted a new piece every 2 days, keeping my collection fresh. Sales trickled in. Some weeks were quiet, others brought a flurry. I learned patience and focused on the process, not just results. Community was key. I supported other artists and built genuine connections. An NFT collector shared my work, leading to more sales. 4 months later, a $40 sale pushed me over the $1,000 mark. It wasn't life-changing, but I'd built it from scratch. I'd learned new skills, navigated a complex world, and turned doodles into a grand. That felt brilliant. So that's how I, a total novice, made my first $1,000 with NFTs. It wasn't quick or easy, but it was rewarding. If I can do it, so can you. No genius or art degree required. Start small, find your niche, and don't fear failure. The NFT world is new, weird, and full of opportunity. My project's been a joy, not for the money, but for the learning and creativity. I'm still making British weather moods with even sillier ideas brewing. Follow along on Twitter and let's navigate this digital world together.